What's up, YouTube? James MTG Biggie here, and today I wanted to talk about the Banned and Restricted announcement, August 28th, 2017, for those watching in the future. Today, it was announced that most formats are going to stay the same. Modern, Standard, Legacy, no changes. Pauper, Commander, no changes. So most of us don't have to worry about adjusting our decks or learning a new meta or anything like that. However, there were changes to Magic's most powerful format and Magic's oldest format, Vintage. Thord of Amethyst is now restricted in Vintage. Those who play Vintage, which I'm sure are very few of you out there that are probably tuning into this channel at least, know that the shop's decks are insane. Mishra's Workshop is an insanely powerful card that allows you to do things really busted with a bunch of other powerful artifacts. And that deck was about 40%, I believe they said, of the meta. So they wanted to dial it back a little bit and nerf it. And I think this is a good way to do it. It won't kill the deck, but it'll definitely make it slightly less oppressively consistent. Moving on, Monastery Mentor, now restricted in Vintage. When this card came out, I saw the spoiler, and I was like, wow, this is really good. It's going to be really good in Standard. It wasn't really good in Standard. It barely saw play in Standard. And then I was like, I bet that'll see play in Modern. It didn't see play in Modern. It saw a bit of play in Legacy, to be fair. The Miracles decks used it as another win condition in addition to Entreat the Angels, and that was before Sensei's Divining Top got banned because it comboed very well with Top. The troublesome part about this card, where you can really abuse and break it, is when you have 0 mana artifacts that make mana. So all of your Moxes and your Black Lotus, and even into like your Lotus Petals and stuff like that, really make a ton of monk tokens. And then you have blue cards that draw a ton of cards and that cost little to no mana. Ancestral Recall, Treasure Cruise, and the list goes on. Gush they had restricted recently because of this deck, and it still didn't kill the deck or dial it back enough. So they went ahead and they nerfed the deck's main win condition and its namesake. So it'll be interesting to see where Vintage goes and where Vintage Mentor decks will kind of turn for a win condition. Maybe Delver, maybe Young Pyromancer come back and serve as alternate win conditions. Who knows? I don't play enough Vintage to be able to predict that sort of thing. But it's interesting to see them restrict this card. And it just speaks to how powerful cards get when combined with older Magic cards. Outside of that, a really broken Magic card is now unrestricted in Vintage. Moths Bargain is an insane Magic card. It's incredibly powerful. It's been restricted in Vintage for as long as I can remember. I recall it back from when I was playing before I took a 12-year break. This card was restricted. And I don't know where it'll land, but somebody's going to bust this card. It will be abused. It will be tested, certainly, in a lot of decks. Maybe Storm, maybe some other combo-centric deck. Drawing cards at will by paying life points is insanely powerful. They said in their article, they mentioned that they feel maybe this effect was replaced by cards like Gristlebrand and Ad Nauseam and stuff like that. But don't underestimate Yawgmoth's Bargain. It's not vulnerable like a creature like Gristlebrand can be. You can't Swords to Plowshares a Yawgmoth's Bargain. So we'll see. I expect it to show up somewhere. Very interesting that after so long they've decided, now's the time. Regardless, that's all that I have for the Banned and Restricted announcements. The next announcement will be on October 17th, so be on the lookout for that. People are speculating about Modern. I know some people put out content and videos and talked on social media about cards like Street Wraith, and people always have rumblings about cards like Simian Spirit Guide. Right now, Modern's healthy. It's hard to say what the best deck is. My biased opinion still says that Death and Taxes is up toward the top, although the amount of Eldrazi that have been coming up in the Eldrazi Tron deck may change that a little bit, although I still think Death and Taxes has a solid matchup there. The deck has a lot of tech against us, and it's really popular. So, Death Shadow is still a huge player too. We'll see. I don't think they're going to make any changes in Modern until the Modern Pro Tour comes back, but we'll see. It's always interesting to see. Outside of that, they've made some announcements about Ixalan, so expect to see another video about that stuff soon. I'll get into it separate video because I don't want to go too terribly long on either topic. Either way, what do you guys think about Vintage? Does anybody out there play Vintage? I know that one of my very faithful viewers, Kabuki Kid, is a avid Vintage player, as she recently told me in comments or whatever. I then asked her to lend me some Power 9 then, which she didn't, but either way, if you play Vintage, what's your outlook on this? Definitely let me know down below. How do you feel things will change going forward? What do you think the Mentor deck's going to do? What are control players going to win with now? Either way, thank you guys very much for everything, and I'll talk to you again soon.